and welcome back to Sense. And Lilia left. Where did she go? We were just connected and I was doing our intro and she just vanished. I think it was your dancing that kicked you off.
Hilarious. I'm like, I have full Wi-Fi. Nobody else is here streaming on the Wi-Fi, so I'm just confused why that disconnected. But my phone was
That's
like,
okay. It made
oh,
a
there
really
was an
funny welcome
error.
back. So this is Sense. I am Seth Powell. This is Lilia. Wall. Well, no, not Walsh. Sorry, that's like I'm skipping back 5 years.
I mean, if we're talking legally,
Moreno. Do I need to say it? Do I need to say Moreno or Moreno?
you should say it the way it's supposed to be said, Moreno.
Moreno. Okay.
Yeah.
But in your case, Morena. Um,
Change my last name legally yet.
wow, you are a. I didn't know you were feminist, Lilia.
Deviant feminism. Do you know how much you have to do when you change your
You are
last
a
name?
strong, independent woman who is not defined by no man.
Oh, my Facebook says Moreno. All my social media.
Okay, so you're just a liar then. You just let everybody know that.
Hopefully my husband doesn't watch listen to this. Sorry, babe. Still love you. Anyways.
There's a burning question that I'm sure anybody who has listened to us in the past has, and that is, where have we been the past year?
I don't know why my immediate response was laughing, but
It's
yeah, that's
okay.
probably a good question.
I mean, but for real. So I'll just tell my part. So I needed like a mental and emotional sabbatical. I was finishing up school, finishing licensing stuff,
I mean, was it a
adoption
sabbatical?
issues. What?
That was not a sabbatical. That was like a journey.
Well, yeah,
Yeah,
I guess
he
so.
was
It
on
was
his
a
life
sabbatic
journey.
journey.
You need a real sabbatical soon.
Yes, I do. But like not for too long because I
Anyway.
get bored. I need like just a day.
Friendly that her husband has ADHD, and when they go on cruises, all they do is stuff. They like specifically go on excursions, and I'm like, I just like chilling by the beach.
I don't because I
So
don't like
can't
sand getting
relate.
in my on my legs.
That's my favorite part is the end of my toes.
No, because then it moves up your legs into other places. Not a
That's why
fan
you
of sand.
shower later.
Yeah, no, but it's cold water, and then I'm like shivering
All right,
and
back to your life journey. Sorry,
okay. So
rabbit trailed us.
I was doing a lot and family and all of that and just needed some time to myself, which is fine. I commend people who do that. Lilia, she was just being lazy the past year, so I'm just
Yeah.
kidding.
I was just being lazy.
No, I think Lilia was
No.
mostly following my lead. She kept sending me, when are we gonna record? When are we gonna like I don't know.
No, I
Like
was
I can't
checking
talk
on you.
right now.
Are you still okay? Making
But
sure
we're
you were
back.
breathing. Yeah.
What?
I said I was just checking on you.
Did you say make sure I was what?
Breathing.
Oh, I thought
Oh,
you said something else.
mm-mm. Breathing.
No, I
Anyways,
heard
we're
breathing.
back. Breathing. That would be really inappropriate.
I didn't look. I didn't go there. I was just saying what I thought I heard.
Anyways, we're back.
And we're back. And one of the coolest things about our dialogue is that Lily is an adoptee and I am an adopter. Oh, I know. No, but it's good. So, I don't mean to say it that way. I'm not like a lifelong
After
adopter. That's not my job.
that's his goal in life. When are you done
That's me.
adopting? That's the burning question everybody's wondering.
You know, I lean towards yes, but you never know. I have a soft spot in my heart for just about anybody. I think
Yeah.
probably we won't adopt again, but I feel like we will probably foster and look for ways we can support birth families. Um,
I
I
love
really
it.
like how some there's a couple of new programs, new organizations and stuff out now that are like kind of pushing for family adoption or family fostering. And so instead of like the foster kid going into someone's home, like the mom and the kids go into someone's home so that they can
Hmm.
like kind of, you know, model and teach and support and that kind of thing. Um, so at some point, I probably would love to be involved in that. But my kids, I have five or four teenagers and one young adult, and they stress me out. I don't have the emotional energy right now to help anybody else. I'm
Yeah.
busy doing that, but yeah, maybe never say never. That's what Bieber said, right?
I was singing that song in my head. Yeah. Okay.
So, some of my downtime, I've been like TikToking when I should be sleeping. Lily, do you scroll TikTok?
No, I scroll the reels on Instagram, which are
Oh,
TikToks essentially.
yeah, they're like TikToks like 8 months after they were famous.
No, I like, yeah, exactly. Literally. I'm like eight
Yeah,
months late
every
to all
once in a
this.
while, yeah, every once in a while I'm scrolling reels and I'll show like my son. He was like, I saw that on TikTok last year.
It's fun. That's so funny.
Cruz. He never laughs at my funny things I find. But anyway, I came across a couple adoptees and I wanted to read some comments on some of the videos and get your take as an adoptee.
Okay, let's hear it.
All right, let's see. Let me find this one. Uh, Sorry, I had something pulled up and then it went away.
Ruh-roh.
Here we go. Okay, so this person says so this adoptee is basically talking about um, the frustrations that come with the emotional processing of everything that happened in your life as you become an adult and begin to like
Hmm.
cognitively and rationally think through your history and your origins and all of
Yeah.
that um, and so she shares a lot of things about the difficulties of that, the pain, her frustrations, the things that were offensive to her, the things that hurt her feelings, and um, she sometimes gets a lot of flack. And this person says, "You need to leave other families alone. I don't know your truth, and you don't know their truth. Try being positive." Now, I thought that was an interesting comment because this particular influencer, TikToker, um, has very positive, um, videos, but every once in a while is sharing, um, her experience, and that's a valid thing to do. What are your thoughts about um, your truth versus their truth? So people who say that adoptees who are kind of processing the trauma and difficult experiences of being adopted, that are processing that externally and expressing those things and kind of being a voice for those who feel like they're the only one. Um, with people saying that's rare and that most adoptees are happy and that the your truth versus their truth, that whole idea. What are your thoughts on that?
Oh, well, first of all, no adoption story is the same. You might have like similar situations, but like nobody can take your experience and speak for you. So I feel very strongly about this. Like you're basically telling somebody they're not allowed to have their own perspective. Um, and you're also generalizing other people's perspectives simultaneously in that comment. Like there's going to be people who are just positive about their adoption, but that doesn't mean they didn't at some point question things or have any kind of negative emotion thinking about their experience as an adoptee. Um, like, for instance, my brother and I both were adopted at birth, but our
Mm-hmm.
experiences are so different, like very different, in the way that we kind of navigated life, very different. Like I kind of idolized my mom, and I'm sure my brother did at once too, but like he kind of struggled in his own situation. I'm not going to touch, that's his personal business, but
Mm-hmm.
basically he was on his own. But meanwhile, I'm over here like, oh, my mom like saved our lives, and I'm doing everything I can to like make sure she knows that I'm grateful and that like I love
Mm-hmm.
her. Um, so, like I would never tell my brother, like, hey, you shouldn't feel bad about why you were adopted, because he technically, his life was literally saved by my mom, but you know what I mean? Like,
Mm-hmm.
I can't tell him that, like, that's his experience, not at all mine. If he comes to that conclusion himself, that's great, but if he feels like negative in whatever way because
Mm-hmm.
of his story versus my story,
Yeah.
I like that's not for me to dictate. So I would feel horrible if, especially if it's an adoptive parent saying things like this. That really
Mm-hmm.
frustrates me. Like, that's the whole reason why you see a lot of adoptees online hashtagging, adoptee voices,
Mm-hmm.
because often they're suppressed because adoption, whether we like to admit it or not, is an industry. And it really hurts an industry when there's negative voices from
Mm-hmm.
what? Children who were adopted and now are grown up. And it just looks really bad, um, for anybody who's prospectively wanting to adopt or trying to help an adoption happen.
Yeah.
Uh,
So like
yeah, I could
the
go on.
going along, yeah, I know. Going along that line, though, there's another comment here, basically commenting on one of her videos about her frustrations with the process, and in this particular video, she talks about trauma and the trauma that's associated with adoption. And this person, who's an adoptive parent, commented their frustration and said, "I understand that every person has a positive experience, but it is also not all traumatic for everyone." How would you respond to that?
I would say on a scientifical, that's not a word, on a scientific level, and
Sounds so
what's,
scholarly.
yeah, um, if you've taken childhood development ever in your life for whatever reason, no, like, I would say perhaps if an adoptee hasn't experienced, I'm quoting, experienced trauma, they haven't realized it yet.
Mm-hmm.
And I say that because on a physical level, you've been inside of the womb for 9, 10 months,
Mm-hmm.
and then you're used to your mother's heartbeat and
Mm-hmm.
the things that she would do around the house, or just her daily life, and then you're separated from that, like everything that you knew. And I know some people don't view gestation as part of life, but it really is, and it does affect you in your,
Yeah.
um throughout your life, not just your early
Mm-hmm.
years, but definitely throughout your life. um so like there
I
is
mean,
an
studies
actual
show that. Yeah.
there's a chemistry, like you said, there are studies, but there's like this chemistry that's broken and it's
Mm-hmm.
traumatic. And I would say, like, yeah, like I started out with, I think if an adoptee feels like they haven't had a traumatic experience, it's not necessarily gonna be the same for them,
Mm-hmm.
like it is for others.
Yeah, I
Like,
think the
it's
important
great
thing
that
is
you're
to
not.
define what trauma is. Everybody thinks that trauma is this, getting raped. That's trauma. Obviously, it is, but they think that trauma is a specific horrible event that you remember, and so because they think that that's what trauma is, there's this idea floating that um, a, if you're adopted as a baby, you're not going to have trauma because you're not going to have any of these memories, and you're not going to remember any of this stuff, and that's really not true. Talking about the studies and things,
Yeah.
infants recognize their mother's voice. They don't build attachment yet because at that early stage, it's only about getting the needs met. But when that attachment starts to build, they recognize the loss. So even if you put somebody else and that baby's attaching to them, they're going to recognize that loss subconsciously. They're going to recognize it, back in the back of their being, not in their conscious mind. And so I think it's important. One of the things that I talk about with my adoptive parent clients and families is that all adoption includes trauma. There is no adoption scenario that is not going to include trauma. And that's important to understand because of that
Yeah.
loss that occurs there. Um, Another comment here says adoptees have it better in a lot of cases because their parents are screened. Um, do you have any comments on that?
I would just say, please look up adoptee voices. There's like way too many horrible adoptions, and I laugh because it's just funny to think that you would, like, somebody would generalize another experience. Again, it goes back to like
Mm-hmm.
you don't know what somebody's gone through. Like, you just because you have assumptions doesn't mean they're true. I would
Right.
just ask, don't be afraid. I think most, well, I don't want to speak for I don't want to I would say for me, I would rather be asked all the questions, and you don't have to say,
Mm-hmm.
"Oh, sorry if this is offensive." Like, just ask me the
Mm-hmm.
question. I will love to share my experience as an adoptee, and
Yeah.
I hopefully that would be the same for any other adoptee you might meet.
Yeah. So as an adoptive parent who's gone through the screening process multiple times, I will say that you can never know what's in someone's mind. You can only look at the outward behavior.
Hmm.
When you apply for a job and it asks for references, no one's gonna in their right mind is gonna put a reference down who's gonna give them a bad reference.
Yeah.
No one's going to write a reference on their adoption application of someone who's going to, say anything negative about the family. In fact, they'll, ask their references most cases to, and they're going to, even sometimes they don't even know the family that well. They're just, an acquaintance that they just knew. And this person, oh, they're a great family. And, they say these comments based on assumptions. So one, references is part of the issue. Background checks, the number of people who are found to um, have done something inappropriate with a child, whether it be sexual abuse, physical abuse, neglect, whatever. Um, I mean, there's always a first offense. There's always the first time they're caught. And generally, when there is a first time they're caught, they find a series of those types of behaviors, but they just never were documented. So, as far as a background and check and everything, that doesn't seal the deal to protect the child. You get a social worker in who's doing a home study, who walks to the house and interviews the whole family. The social worker is probably got lots of families, and they'll do their job as best they can, But in most cases, they're not psychologists. They're not performing a psychological assessment on the actual person. They're just looking at the environment. Is the environment safe? Do these people seem reasonable? Do they have income? Do their are their kids in the home? And do the kids have any complaints? Um, a lot of times the issue with adopted kids being going through abuse is because they're adopted and they're not the bio kids that are already in the home. And so you have all of these different parts, these different factors that you have to put in the context for the screening process. Does that mean that we shouldn't screen? Obviously no, we should screen as much as we can. But I think further than the screening process is the training process. And I think that's where the breakdown is in adoption as a culture, is that there's we do all this screening. When we did an international adoption, and my wife and I both had to go to do this psychological evaluation that wasn't required for other programs, other countries, and it's not required for domestic adoptions and everything. But we had to do this psychological evaluation, and it was separate, and it was it was fine that they get a kind of a personality assessment or whatever, or idea of who we were as people in the file. But I know other families that are adopting from the same country that have done that, and they're having to constantly update or revise this thing because it doesn't fit the standards that they want. Well, what they do is they go, "You're paying the psychologist to sign off on this," and they're most psychologists are not gonna. I mean, let me take a step back. Ethics code would make them do the right thing.
Hmm.
However, people are fallible people. And I think that in a lot of situations, that a 3 day assessment that they have to do is not going to give as much detail. As a therapist, when I do an assessment with a client and I'm trying to do a personality profile or whatever to look to see if there's any concerns for any diagnosis that we may need to look at, it's not just an assessment. It's not just 3 days of conversation. It's a series of sessions. It's a history taking. It's looking at all of this information and watching as the client begins to reveal themselves session by session. And so the issue is not the screening process for me. Just in my thoughts for this, my what I've seen over and over and over again, because I have clients who they have tried to rehome their kids, they've tried to dissolve their adoption, they have sent their kids to live in residential facilities. There was one family that sent their kids to another country, and there's another family their kids ran away, and they're just okay. Um, Now, in the runaway situation, the kid was, just older, and there wasn't much they could do. But the things that I'm hearing, the things that I'm seeing, really comes down to, are these families equipped, trained, and educated enough to deal with the behaviors that you see in adoption? Sorry, that's my soapbox.
We really don't know.
But yeah, so I think it comes down to the training is the most you know difficult piece of the puzzle. All right, Lilia,
What?
your turn. I was talking a lot. Everyone wants to hear the
But
adoptee
you
voice. We need more adopt. You just said look up adoptee voices, and we're just letting the adopter speak.
what I thought, and you told me what you thought.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I mean, I already answered the question. I can repeat myself.
No, that's okay. Lilia.
It's interesting our responses.
Mm-hmm. Well,
See,
I'm
we
probably
have
gonna get
different
some flack.
perspectives.
I get lots
You're
of flack on
frozen.
things.
Are you still there?
I'm still here.
Okay. Maybe it's just the video. Sometimes you freeze. Oh no, I'm yawning.
Well, that's not entertaining at all.
Sorry. I'm yawning. I just drank my coffee.
I know, and I didn't get my coffee this morning.
Tisk tisk. I don't drink coffee every day. I don't want to be dependent on caffeine.
Well, I'm not dependent on it. I just need it to survive.
Tired. Stop with that right now. That was funny though.
So, Lily, is there anything that you want to share
um,
about life
about life.
besides the fact that you're lying about your last name?
Well, staying on the topic of adoption, uh, yeah, I suppose.
I
Um,
mean, you don't have to share anything
recent.
you want to. We can just sit and stare at each other.
No, no, no. I think it's important to share. Um,
Okay.
I, I'm just trying to think of how much I want to share because what if like somebody
Yeah,
listens
that's
to
true.
this? You know what I mean? But
Yeah.
at the same
Don't tell
time
about
though,
all
like.
your illegal activity.
No, seriously though, at the same time, I have a right to share my side of things. Oh, this is kind of circling back to what you started off with. But this is not to do with like my biological family. It's actually to do with
Okay.
my adoption family. So
Okay.
um, yeah, I shared a little bit on social media about wanting to find my birth father. And my mom randomly calls me out of the blue, and I'm having dinner with my in-laws, so but it's my mom, so I answer. And she's just like, "Hey, I just heard that you're really struggling. Like, you're trying to find your birth father. Why didn't you just come to me first?" And she was really concerned and upset. And I'm like, what? I've already had this conversation with you years ago. I know that you would help me find him, but like my sisters literally know who he is. So I don't need to figure out how to find him. It was just, do I want to? Because then I might be
Mm-hmm.
opening up this can of worms. Because perhaps none of them know I exist. And I'd be kind of maybe starting drama with his family and they might be like,
Mm-hmm.
"What? You had an affair with somebody years ago?" But
Mm-hmm.
that was before like I felt so concerned about everybody else but myself.
Mm-hmm.
Now that it's like years later after uh my identity crisis, um I just have been
Which is still
feeling
going
like,
on, by the
you know
way.
what, that's this is still going on, yes. This
Yeah.
is not finished, it's not
You're
complete.
not. You're
But
got one name on Facebook and another one on your license.
out of here. Like, I didn't know where you were going with that. No, I just feel like I'm in a place where, you know what, it's my right to know because
Mm-hmm.
that's his consequence. That's her consequence. That's their consequence.
Yeah.
They shouldn't have done it if they didn't want to be found. I don't know. That's just kind of where I
Mm-hmm.
was at the moment that I was like posting about, you know, wanting to find my birth father. I was on the fence and then I realized, you know what? I don't know if I should care as much about their feelings as I should about my own because like at the end of the day I can only help myself. I can only
Mm-hmm.
work through my own issues. I can't figure out everybody else's life. And so I was like, what do I want? And
Mm-hmm.
will it kill somebody? No. So okay. You know, so yeah, I explained all of that to her and I was like, I'm sorry that you jump to conclusions based
Mm-hmm.
on somebody sharing what they thought as well about the
Mm-hmm.
situation. Um, But I'm glad that she came directly to me instead of like festering with it because my mom's very direct. Um, she's not afraid of confrontation, and I appreciate that a lot. So, we're good. But yeah, I have not reached out to my biological family, my biological father's side yet. So that's kind of an ongoing story, and
Yeah.
I'll share about it probably years from now. Just kidding.
That's fine.
It
I
might be
love that you
sooner.
said that the bar was, is anyone gonna die? That's the
Safe.
bar. As long
Well,
as
I mean, I feel like other
totally
adoptees
fine
can
as long as
relate.
nobody dies.
Never,
Depression,
I think.
anxiety, family drama, all of that. Who cares?
Well, I feel like I was talking to a friend and just yesterday, and we were just talking about life in general, and she went through some trauma. She's not adopted, but her family foster adopts. So she's still part of the community. So it's really cool that we have different perspectives because she's a biological sibling with
Mm-hmm.
adopted siblings and fostered siblings. Um, so yeah, anyways, we were just talking about her realizing, I'm having a brain fart in the middle of where
It's
was I
okay.
going with that? You said something that triggered in my mind. What did you say
So
earlier?
triggering.
Yes, you triggered a thought that I had that oh great. It was gonna be great. Now I can't remember.
You should write it down.
Well, we're in the moment. We're talking in the moment. I'm sorry, I don't have
I keep a pad and
paper.
paper.
Listen, you're right. I have paper and
I'm a
stuff.
sensible person.
Are you suggesting I'm not sensible? That is so rude. Look at that. I got a
Well, you don't care
clipboard.
if, unless people die, so
No, that was no,
I'm
that's
just
what it
picking.
was.
I
I triggered myself. I triggered myself. It was something I said. Yeah, high stakes. So she was just explaining how like now that she's in her healing era of
hmm
her life, um, she realized that, before everything was such high stakes.
hmm
Every little decision she made was high stakes because of the trauma that she went through. And I was like, huh, I feel like that was how I felt because my identity was so much like, oh, my mom adopted me and she's my savior. Not to like,
hmm
I'm not using that facetiously. Like, I literally thought that way, and a lot
hmm
of people outside of the adoption community kind of see things that way.
hmm
But, like, it wasn't such high stakes. My identity was just so ingrained in the person that raised me, and I wanted to make sure she knew I loved her and was grateful. But that's not all that I am, like,
hmm
so that's where I was going with that. And that's why I feel like now I'm in a much better place to have informed relationships with possibly biological family.
hmm
Or otherwise, at least I get to learn about them, even if I don't, develop a relationship with them. I am close with my biological mother's side, but, I'm not expecting that with my father's side because I don't
hmm
know. I don't even, yeah. I don't
Yeah.
know. It's a mystery.
It's such a complex thing though. There's
It
all
is.
of the
It's not
moving
just
pieces.
me. Yes, exactly. It's like it's not just up to me. It's like
hmm
it's up to them. Like I don't know how they feel or anything. So
Yeah, like,
it'll be interesting.
each person, feels the right to know, you know, their history, their connections, their rootedness. Who is my family? Who are where does my biology come from? who gave me my nose and my eye color and whatever.
Oh,
And you have this
yeah,
ingrained right to know that, right?
yeah,
The flip side of that though is respecting the boundaries that everyone else puts around them, and as far as the proximity to that, I always, there are a couple of people that I follow on social media who are adoptees that were able to reach out to adopt or to biological family and did not have a positive interaction. It was they were um, basically they weren't accepted the way that these people wanted to be accepted, and that's always sad. That just brings up a whole lot of other things that go on as far as the rejection and abandonment and all of those feelings that are so ingrained in so many people who are adopted and so many people who have been in the foster system, or people who have grown up in single parent households. And there's all these layers to it. And
yeah, yeah,
all of those moving pieces of it. Am I going to be accepted? Is this going to be a good thing? Am I going to be rejected again? Is this going to be another area of abandonment for me? Is it going to decrease my frustration and my identity crisis, or is it going to make it exaggerated? Is it going to make it worse? So it's so complex, all of those different pieces. And
yeah,
we have
absolutely.
to think about all of that, when someone goes in. Like, I'm walking through that with my kids, trying to help them to safely and in a healthy way and an emotionally protective way know their biological side and get to know where they came from, and finding who are the people that we can contact and who are the people we can talk to, and who is not going to exacerbate my kids already issues with abandonment and stuff. So, and what and going along with them for the ride, which is hard as a parent because I love them, as if they came out of my skin, like they're an extension of myself because I love them so much. Um,
Yeah,
but because I love them, I'm willing to be uncomfortable and to hurt and to walk with them because I want what's best for them. Um,
yeah,
and having those two things for anybody that's wanting to do what you're doing, and searching for biofamily, is to recognize the complexity of it and the moving pieces of it, but then to have adequate support around you, for when there's icky days and sucky moments.
yep. Basically everything you just said. There are a lot of moving parts when it comes to, telling my story. It's not just my story, it's my birth mother's, it's my birth father's. Um, and I am very careful what I say online because I am friends with my family on social media, like not just my adoptive,
Mm-hmm.
all of my adoptive family, but all of my um, biological mother's family. Um, so yeah, it's also interesting to see other people's responses because, like, when I first talked about reaching out to my birth mother, one of my brothers that I grew up with, he did not like that at all. Like, I think he and I both idolized my mom because he was just like, "How could you do this to mom?"
Mm-hmm.
Like she's all you need. You don't, they're nothing. They're strangers to you. And I'm just like, whoa, 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 dude. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I get what you're saying because like it's different for him. He was fostered by my mom and
Mm-hmm.
he doesn't really claim much of his biological family, even though they're still present. And it's very
Mm-hmm.
strange to see it unfold like that. But uh, again, it's such a different perspective, and this is a different brother than from the one I was talking about before.
Mm-hmm.
Um, he like moved in with us when he was 9. I don't even think I was born yet, and you probably were there, honestly, because you were there a lot.
Are you
I
calling
see
me
you in
old,
some of our
Lily?
family. No, I know I see you in a lot of our family photos. So
Yeah.
you probably knew my brother better than me, 'cause you're closer in age. Or at least your memories were forming before mine were. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Um, since I was born so
Yeah.
long after y'all.
All those summers at grandmother and grandfather's house.
You were there. Oh my gosh, I forgot. You're because my uncle, your mom is the first person my uncle met. That's right, because that's how uh he met his wife.
Hmm.
Um, that is just so
Yep.
funny that, anyways. Um, but yeah, it's interesting to see other people's responses to my story, and it's like, what?
Yeah.
Um, that's fine. It's just interesting.
All right. Well, I think that in our next episode, we should pick up with some of those thoughts. Um, on you barely mentioned it, but you made fun of me earlier about white saviorism. Um,
Wait, did I mention it? And I don't think I mentioned it after you hit record.
yeah, just now you said something about how you looked at your mom like your savior.
Yeah, but I didn't call
I
you
kind
a
of took a
white
leap. I know
savior.
I took a leap. Yeah, well, because she's not white.
She is, and so are you. Y'all are both white saviors.
Well, she's a lot darker than me. I can't tan.
She does tan.
I,
It is funny.
we'll talk about pasty saviorism. So
Yeah.
anyway, this is us chatting and talking, including anyone who wants to listen. um, so,
If you want to be a
but
part of our podcast, just message
yes,
us.
yeah, message us. We like
Please.
to
We
chit chat.
like
Sometimes we get carried
perspective.
away
We do get carried
and
away, but that's what's
or
great.
we forget what we're talking about. Uh, but we're pretty awesome.
No. I'm face palming right now. That's so embarrassing. He's at
All right.
the older end of the millennials, and I'm at the
Yeah.
younger end.
Are you calling me old again? I just found these cool audio things on here. I think that's neat.
You probably
They think
like
it's cool too.
slapstick comedy.
See?
Okay. Thanks for
All right. Well,
listening. We hope you
I
enjoyed
will.
this
Yes.
conversation.
Check back in with us next time we record. Maybe a week, maybe a 1 month, maybe you'll see us in 5 years. But listen to
Yeah,
us next time we record.
exactly.
Bye.